Friends and lovers, welcome. I'm That Resolves, and this is the patch update. So let's take a look at what I've got over here in the updates for the fire card. So first off, we've got Into the Furnace, and this mostly unchanged, but it's now a fast spell. And perhaps this is going to be great if we're able to build a beatdown Grenadine deck, where it's just able to get in there, deal 4 damage to a blocker at instant speed, just able to help us keep pushing in that damage. Just additional copies of Torch and just allowing our dirty little units to get in there. One of which is the Topple Tower, which is now it's got an additional point of life here. And the Topple Tower was always, it was sort of on the edge of being sort of as good as the Champion of Chaos. As often it'll be a 4-5 or like a 6-5, and that'll often do the job. Now it's got that additional point of toughness to make it the 4-5 or the 6-5, whereas before it would just have 4 toughness, pretty easy to just get traded with anywhere. This is going to require some gang blocks, and if you've got any instant speed sacrifices, you can just improve the power of the Topple Tower and just be able to really get in there for some damage. Next up is the Parapet Sentry, and Sentinels haven't been something I've really investigated really that much, to be honest, but with the Game Master now only costing 3, it's very easy just to play her on 3 and then just play a Sentinel on 4 and 5, just draw cards off these, make that unit another additional threat they're going to have to deal with. And now that the Parapet Sentry gets +2/+2 and you get a relic instead of +1/+1, it's a real actual threat that you're going to have in play, as this is going to be a 6-5. And when it enters play, it's going to deal 3 damage to the enemy player and 3 damage to an enemy unit with flying, so any Valkyrie Enforcers, good night. Next up is perhaps the most damaging one, which is the Soulfire Drake, now costs 6. And I'm pretty sad about this because I've owned the same set of Soulfire Drakes now for, well, basically since the game came out of the closed beta. And I'll be sad to be dusting these bad boys, but I think that the time's over. And we need to diversify how we're going to be ending the game with our different beatdown decks. So now it's not just going to be like Rakano, Skycrag, and Stonescar all ending the game with Soulfire Drake. We have to think of different ways. Maybe that's Obliterate, maybe it's just going to be Bandit Queen still. Who knows, but the Soulfire Drake's probably still good enough for any sort of charge rod decks, but now it costing 6 means that it's a lot more difficult just to slot in as like the 2 or 3 of in your beatdown deck. You have to really consider what you want to be ending the game with. Okay, so next page we've got the time changes and the Iron Shoveler. I know what's been interesting, and it was a little bit more like the Blind Scholar. You used to have to pay 2 to exhaust the Iron Shoveler. Now you're just paying 1, so it's a lot easier to fit in your curve there. This is sometimes perhaps it could be a 2-cost spell where you're going to pay 1 to sort of mill a top card of your deck, or if it's a Sentinel Relic, you get to draw it. Lunamagus, this is one of the bigger changes here. This is a 3-4 for free. It used to be a 2-4, so that's actually just able to rumble. The 2-4 was just sort of like this weird body that it had, and with the Nightfall and the life game theme, I can see it's really going in a couple of different Xenon types of decks. Maybe Xenon Killers, but definitely some sort of Nightfall Life Force style deck. And that's another thing that I'll be interested in playing with in the next couple of weeks. But one that I know a lot of the Magic the Gathering fans who play this game will be interested in is the Reliquary Raider. She's now an Ophidian, so she's 1/3 for free. And when she attacks, doesn't have to deal damage, just attacks, you get to draw a card. And when she blocks, you get to gain 3 life. So the body isn't super impressive, but the abilities are. If you're able to pair this with a Xenon Obelisk, or perhaps like a Xenon Initiation, this becomes very impressive. And it's also pretty good at blocking Grenadines, which I suspect we'll be seeing a little bit more of. I'll theme over here with the Explorer Sentinels thing that we were trying to get going with this last set that came out. The Season Spelunker now is quite the threat. +2/+2 when you've got a relic is just going to make this a lot of the time a 5/5 for free, and that is just a great rate. You could really see some sort of like Explorer beatdown deck that's just got perhaps a couple of Sentinels to finish the game, like perhaps the Parapet Sentry now just to deal the final 3 points and remove a blocker. Could be pretty interesting to play with this. So the Stirring Sands now sort of a Sentinel Reanimator spell. Now this costs 1 less, but the Sentinel's going to enter play exhausted. So this is sort of like a side upgrade, downgrade sort of thing. Because it is cheaper, but also it's going to have a sort of a downside because you're going to be these Sentinels are going to be entering play exhausted. You can get around this with a couple of relics that are going to give you a Sentinel's endurance. So you play Mysterium Orb, that's going to give them endurance, or maybe even the Infinite Hourglass, and that's also going to give them endurance. And you just get around this, and you're just able to play this as just some sort of like value spell in your Explorer Sentinel deck, and later in the game be able to just tap 2 Explorers, pay 6 power, and just bring 2 big threats back into play. Suspecting this to be more as a value spell than a reanimator spell now. Got the big change over here to the Legion Pathfinder, so Echo Macto is very unlikely to be seen play, or at least in its current form. Maybe we move over to like a Crown Macto deck if the influence base supports it, but for now, it's time to move away from Legion Pathfinder. This costing 7, like without a way to cheat it into play, is just not really happening. Onto the Justice changes now, and there's definitely some Justice here. We've got Protect, and this now costs 2 instead of 1. So this is a huge change because now it's going to be a lot more of a cost to be able to hold this up, and you're going to have to weigh up some more intelligent sort of deck building and gameplay, where you're going to have to think about, do you want to commit more to the board, or do you want to hold back on your 1 threat and just keep trying to protect it? And now the tempo involved in this card is a lot more even, because you're going to be trading 2 power for 3 power and 2 power, rather than just the 1 power for like a range of powers. So you could be trading your 1 power protect for a 4 power and your opponent's entire turn of feeding time. It's just so backbreaking. So Wanted Poster, I'll be honest, and I think Wanted Poster perhaps didn't need this change, as it was slowly moving its way out of the metagame. The main deck that was playing it, that was the JPS Charge deck, had basically cut down on its removal spells, wasn't even playing Harsh Rule or any weapons, like 10 removal spells or something. It just wasn't as impressive anymore, but I'm happy to see it go, because it means I don't have to play against it anymore and just get tilted by how good it always is against me. The less said about Wanted Poster, the better. The flavor's excellent, and this has just been given the Inspire treatment. It's got some draft changes, and this is Entrapment. This costing 4 now means it's very unlikely you're going to see this on the ranked ladder anymore. It's still a high picking draft, but it's just toning down the power just that little bit. I'm not going to say too much about the draft change because I'm not primarily a draft player, more into the ranked ladder. The Spirit Blade Stalker this is probably a good change, because from the games I've played, I've usually picked Spirit Blade Stalker pretty highly, played it on 4, on 5 I've ultimated it, probably even given the Spirit Blade the ability itself. So just the easy curve of 4 to 5. Now the ability is going to cost 6 to ultimate, and that is a huge change. It means you have to, maybe it just helps you play a little more, because you're going to play a 5-drop and then you're going to ultimate this on the 5-drop. But you know, we'll see these changes happening, and the Roosting Owl now a 2-3 instead of a 2-4, and this is going to be a huge change as well, as Roosting Owl was a backbreaker, just a 2-4 flyer in the air with a pretty sweet ability. That this was able to allow you to sort of solve with this 2-4 flyer to be able to see the mentor, the student of your ability in your deck. The Last Light Druid, I believe this change isn't in terms of power, but it's just more a rules cleanup, because this card wasn't doing what people were expecting, and that's not where we want it to be. People were crafting this and we're enjoying the experience because what they expected to happen, they was going to build around it, have these plays ability cards. We want to play with the Marison Disciple, and weird things had happened, like you won't get the summon ability, you just straight away change the Disciple. I think Ilion played a cool deck where they played like Last Light Druid and token creation spells, and that was pretty interesting. It's good also with the Beast Caller's Amulet, and it's really still good. I think this is perhaps more interesting now, as you know what's going to be happening, and end of turn is going to change all of your units into a random units cost 1 more. Means you can't really abuse it with things like Flamestoker or charge units per se, but it's going to be interesting, and I'd like to see what some of the brewers will come up with this card. Fudrock is delicious, a 5-4 now. It's got those halfway stats. Previously it was a 5-3, and that was one of the worst stat lines because you could both be vanquished and torched. So you sort of ruins on both ends of the spectrum, and that's a lot of the reasons why cards like Midnight Gale don't see as much play as they really should, because aside from the influence, of course, being vulnerable to both those sides of removal is just a really bad place to be, because it gives your opponent so many ways of dealing with you. And now I think the Yeti deck could be a real threat. Like, if you're able to curve pretty much any of the Yeti 2-drops into Wump, into Floodrock, it's just going to be such a beating. At this point, Floodrock's a 6/5 that's just hit your opponent in the face and has just made you a massive, like, snowman to sort of sit there on the board, and you're just going to have such a huge board mess. I'm just really interested in the Floodrock. I want to crunch away, spoiler alert, the Varas. I'll probably be crafting some of these Floodrocks. Bellowing Thunderfoot is probably another draft change, but it's potential that you could see this in draft, as now it's got additional power. It's able to bond other units a lot easier, and now it's a 5/5. It's a real threat, and I could very easily see you playing this on turn 4 or 5 just by bonding another unit. The Allegiance Trailblazer, sadly, is just a victim to her counterpart in the Legion Pathfinder, who gave a top unit echo. And this is a sad change, means that we're probably not going to be getting to play with the Carpet Shuffle deck anymore. But not much I can say about this. I'm pretty sad that this got hit, but I do expect that these costs will become more realistic when we get more tools to deal with this sort of echo nonsense. And the Amethyst Monument is a huge boon to a lot of decks. Now this is a 5-power 4/4, so it gives you a lot of flood prevention, in a lot of shadow-based decks. So maybe this is even good enough for Argenport decks. But mostly I'm going to expect to see this in like Xenon Beatdown or like a Xenon Life Force deck, because now you've got a real threat off the top. And a 4/4 lifesteal is really good against beatdown decks, as they just can't torch it. They're going to have to attack into it and torch it, so you've basically 2-for-1 and gained life, so you're just really ahead in this exchange. And I'm excited to see this monument actually see play, as this is not only just bringing up the overall power level of the monuments, but now it's just making you have to think in your deck building. Do I want to play the Waystone? Do I want to play the Monument? Do I want to play both? And at that point, am I able to still play the Banners of Seats and all the other things like that? What am I going to do in my deck building? This is the sort of change I want to see, because this really shakes things up. Cabal Slasher, perhaps if the Argenport Instigator had not been moved to double influence, this wouldn't even be worth batting an eyelid at. But now the Cabal Slasher costs 2. This is a very interesting inclusion, placing Xenon Life Force. You know, if you play this and just gain like 2 or 3 life, this just gets 2 or 3 extra power, and it becomes a real big threat. Well, this is a 4/3 for 2. That's like an ultimate Mirror's Nightshade, and that's what I'm all about. Next we've got Vara, and I'm sad about this. I enjoyed playing with Vara and just the Vara chains and just having this as my win condition in so many decks, like either Reanimator or Felon Control even. And I don't think Reanimator is going to go away per se, as you're still able to play this for 5 off a Grasp of Shadows, and then next turn you're able to set up. It just gives your opponent that window where they're able to interact with you, whereas previously they just weren't able to interact with you a lot of time. They get a Harsh Rule, and you just play a Vara, play all the other Varas in your bin, and they have that one turn to answer you, and if they don't, the game's over. Now, they're in a similar position, but they only have to deal with one Vara at a time, so if the next time you play a unit, return another Vara, you're not starting that chain all again. It's a lot slower and it's a lot easier to interact with. And I feel a lot happier with that, because interactive games is what we want to play. We don't want to play games where it's just both of us playing solitaire, see who goes off first and who's able to do their thing whilst the other opponent sort of sits there for half an hour, sort of clicking OK. It's also interesting because now Felon Control is taking a completely different direction. The Black Sky Harmage is more like a Baneslayer Angel now. She's got 4 power. She's a 4/5 for 6 with the lifesteal and the end of player's ability still. But perhaps Vara changing means that you just think of a different win condition. Perhaps we end at Harbinger now. You know, perhaps we go a bit exciting and we play like Last Word or Whispers of the Void, because Whispers of the Void is definitely playable now with the Steward of the Past nerf. And just all these interesting directions that this is going to take Felon Control. Maybe Felon Control becomes JPS Control, and Felon just becomes like the mid-range beatdown deck that I was playing previously. But I'm interested to find out what's going to be happening. I'm going to be experimenting with this myself. Next, we move on to the Stone Powder Alchemist. The change is minor. It's got the it's got treatment that's happened to so many cards in the past where they've gone from a 2-2 to a 2-1. Now you can pop this with a Virus Favor, but that's mostly fine because this guy dying isn't really an issue. It's just going to come back. In fact, I think that Stone Powered Ultimus might be better in your deck for the most part. So this is a little bit worse against 1-1s, and perhaps that's going to be something that'll matter in the future as the Grenadine Beatdown deck could come to fruition, but it's still often going to trade and then come back, trade again. You're gonna gain 8 life off this one card that's also going to trade cards. That's more than good enough. When you get to the point where you've got like this free power card is going to gain you 8 to 12 life because it doesn't trade. You know, it's not where new players want to be playing against. So just like, oh great, I just brewed up this Grenadines deck, I'm going to take it in ranked, see what I can do with it, and then they just play against this guy and they're just stonewalled and can never beat it. Also, I don't think it's terrible that Skycrag get to now rock slide this guy. That's fine. Just get you out of the way. Just keep pushing it for damage. Speaking of Skycrag, we're on to Iceberg Warchief next. This is another huge change for Yetis, as this spell bonus here allows your snowballs to turn into torches because your spell is going to deal an additional 2 damage and your other Yeti is going to have additional 2 power. So if you're playing this with Scouting Party, that's no joke. That's a bunch of power out of nowhere. We've got like 4 units and they're all 3 each. So that's 12 power just off the Scouting Party by itself. You can play this perhaps as your end game even, just to give all your dirty little threats like additional power, and they're going to be able to really get in there. These also stack really well. You can just, if you play 2 of these in a snowball, that's 5 power. That's 5 damage to the face. That's game over. Overall, I'm excited to see more changes to Yetis because that's one of my favourite tribes. It sort of became a bit of a meme, and it was just sort of like a side grade from Skycrag Beatdown, but now it's getting its own identity, and I'm just really excited to see this. Champion of Chaos. This one is the one no one expected. We've been asking for it and we've finally got it. Champion of Chaos is a gunslinger rogue. Hopefully, no one at Direwolf Digital is going to regret this decision because Champion of Chaos with a hideout pistol, that is busted. Like the Stone Scar Beatdown deck. Now that Champion of Chaos is a gunslinger as well as a rogue, you just get to really easily it's a free splash just to play common cars, and then we've got enough gunslingers in the deck already now that we can just play hideout pistol, and hideout pistol on a Champion of Chaos is busted. It's going to kill whatever they've got to block, and you know, you can think of it as like a removal spell that's going to deal 2 damage this turn, but a lot of the time if your opponent just tries to stabilize like a Woolbear Behemoth, a Tavrod, or like a Sandstorm Titan, or any of these juicy threats, it's just going to get killed, and then all of your units are going to be able to pile in and just hopefully finish the game. And I'm glad that the Drake got nerfed because I don't want to play against that deck and then them have the opportunity to just have this 5 power out in the air out of nowhere kill me. And while we're on the thread of beatdown decks getting a little bit more powerful, we've got Iron the Abductor, sort of the counterplay to this, getting a little bit more powerful. It's got Ambush, so it's going to play around the hideout pistol pretty well. It's also got Lifesteal, which isn't super excellent as a blocker for the Champion of Chaos because she does have Overwhelm and Deadly most of the time, which will be enabled a lot more with the common cars. But Iron now costs 8, and this is a lot more realistic. It's in line with the other time ultimates at 8, but that's neither here nor there. For the most part, anything that's cheaper is just better, and I'm happy to see Iron better because Xenon is perhaps one of the more interesting archetypes, and there's so much you can do with it, all the way down from like the Killers beatdown decks to the Life Force mid-range Control Law beatdown decks, and then up to the straight up Xenon Control. And we've even got an additional archetype here. We've got Mask of Torment, gets a buff. I mean, it costs 4 now, so sure you can banish it, but whatever. It's just going to make that ramp deck more consistent because it's ramping a turn earlier. And you can play something like turn 3, you've got Trailmaker and things like this, and this is a potent card. And I'm a little bit sad that the ultimate is still an ultimate, and it's not just an ability. Pay 20 to play the Tormentor. Do you still think that the Tormentor is better in the graveyard than it is in play? But I'll take what I can where I can, and I'm happy to just pay 20 to end the game out of nowhere with this Tormentor. Because it's very difficult to deal with. Your opponent has to silence it and kill it at the same time. Because if they just kill it, you're just going to get in there with Entomb Spitelings. And these guys are very good against relic weapons, let me tell you. I did have a phasing rank in a set 1 where I just was sort of bored, had dust spare, just started crafting this nonsense cards like Whispers of the Void. and that's where I started to go off with Spitelings when Armory was easily one of the better decks. So overall, what do I think of the patch? I'm interested. It opens up so much. And anyway, thanks for listening. I've been That Resolves, and this was the patch breakdown for 1.28. I also just want to say thank you to everyone. The channel has grown pretty well over the past couple of weeks. I think it's like 130 something subscribers now.